Well, hey folks, relaunch Super John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin. This is a fantasy booking idea I've had for a while. WWE versus New Japan. 3 days, 8 matches a show, 24 in total. Who's the best of the best? Would you have, your best matches on the first day? No, you'd have them on the third day. But you'd have enough good matches to hook you into watching either on New Japan streaming service or WWE Network service, depending on which announcing crew you wanted. They would split the profits, that kind of stuff. I mean, that's getting into a whole different thing. A business side, I'm sure that Vince wouldn't want to split 50-50, but he might have to get all this great talent. But what if they were able to come to this agreement? Could hold it in Trojan Stadium, the big house in Michigan, another big-ass stadium that I can't think of right now. They would have to be in a big outdoor stadium and stuff like that. I would have it in Trojan Stadium, only because it'd be in LA, New Japan talents could fly there easier, and they've run shows in California before. Plus, it's not like a global footprint being made by both companies wouldn't be a way to promote and help both in the long run. Some towns will get left off the show or put in the first match that I've come up with. But a lot of these matches will be some matches that you didn't know you wanted, dream match or not. So let's get on with it. I may end up doing the second part to this. We'll see. If I get too much into some of these matches, I may stop it after about 20 minutes and do a second part. But we'll see. Otherwise, I may just go 30 minutes and just blitz through some of these shows. Some of these matches for some of these shows I would come up with. And I'm just a fan, okay? Ain't none of these matches ever going to happen because WWE and New Japan ain't ever going to come to an agreement to have a show, even though it'd be awesome to see. But have a battle royal. Have somebody like Kitamura, a young lion, win. Or have EC3 or Lars Sullivan win if you want to go WWE side. And put some various talents there from NXT and lower on the card in WWE that aren't going to be on this show. And some young lions from New Japan. And some others that aren't used all that often. Put some Ring of Honor talents in there. Have it be a big old war. Because there are going to be a few Ring of Honor talents on this show. But since they work in New Japan also, I'm lumping them in with this because I'm a smartass and that's the way I do things. This would just be a way to kick off the show. Good way to kick off the show, Battle Royal, gets people into it, and, sets the stage. Okay, all these guys are in this big schmoz. What's going to happen next? And then Velveteen Dream versus Goto. At this time, Goto is the never open weight champion in New Japan. And Velveteen Dream is light years ahead of where most anybody else would be with his level of experience in wrestling. I mean, anybody that wasn't already bred to be in the wrestling business at an early age, like second generation, third generation talent, Velveteen is doing tremendous. And I would have Velveteen go over Goto. Seems controversial. It's nothing against Goto, who's a tremendous talent and very underutilized this year, even though he's been in some great matches. Velveteen Dream winning, okay, young guy going over an established guy. And then you go to the next match. IWGP US Champion Jay White versus current US Champion in WWE, Jeff Hardy. And Jay White goes over Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy would be allowed to do a little more of his aerial offense and go a little more all out in Japan, or with this big whole thing. And you could have it, since it would be kind of WWE Japanese style and, hybrid and everything, Jeff might be allowed to go a little more all out. But Jay White would end up hitting a Blade Runner, maybe 2, and gain the win. Maybe a twist of fate into a Blade Runner. And that's how Jay White wins. And it reverses it. Younger guy goes over an established talent. And there we go. We're off and running. And then we have Killian Dane versus Bad Luck Fale. And just for 2 monsters against each other. Dane would end up beating Fale, but Fale wouldn't look weak at all. It would be a good 8-minute match. You can't have this match go beyond 10 minutes. So I would have it be an 8-minute match. Big war, big moves up the second rope, that kind of stuff. Some big power moves, couple near falls. Dane ends up getting the win. And it's a nice little way to have 2 monsters have a good little match without being too overexposed. Dane can actually last a lot longer. Fale, less so. Don't want to really overexpose him. But him losing doesn't hurt him at all. And in match number 21, Bray and Matt and Aleister Black versus Makabe, Hanare, and Yuji Nagata. Tell me that isn't something you'd want to see. Especially with Nagata being an established veteran, so it'd be like him and Matt. You would have Aleister and Makabe, and then Hanare and Bray. Bray Nare, if you want to call them that. Imagine them in a singles match. Hanare would end up actually getting the win over Matt Hardy. That's what would happen. Hanare, who I see huge potential in, would get the win. And yeah, okay, you could make the argument that Alistair's team shouldn't take the pin. Alistair would have some great moves and stuff like that. He would not be anywhere near the pinfall. Bray wouldn't be taking the pin, but Matt can take the pin. At this point, I'm not saying Matt should be eating losses, but Matt is too broken down, really. I mean, yeah, the whole delete, wonderful, all that kind of stuff. The woke and broken Matt that he is over, but in the ring, he's not all that good. And Hanare picking up a win over somebody even as broken down as Matt Hardy would work wonders for him. And I see huge potential in Hanare as a big star in the coming years. And be a fun little 6-man tag match. And then we have Brock versus Michael Elgin. I know that you probably don't want to see Brock on the card. I didn't want to put Elgin on the card. But then I thought about it. $500,000 of Vince's money to what? $500,000 of Vince's money, easy for me to say. To watch him destroy Elgin, and I'm talking like Elgin could maybe get a few moves in, but Brock would hit him with suplexes on the outside, throw him through a table, hurl a chair at his back, just suplex through a table on the outside, suplex on a table in the ring, suplex on a pile of chairs, and just pick him up and maybe lock a Kimura lock on him and just make him tap out or pass out or something like that, because that's what that stupid fuck Michael Elgin deserves. He deserves to be absolutely brutalized. And I'm not saying like he deserves to be totally injured here, but in a working environment he deserves to be brutalized. Just have Brock. It would be worth the $500,000 to watch Elgin get his ass beat. And hopefully it would happen. I would hope that Brock would just destroy him if this match ever happened, because that's what Elgin deserves. Anyway, sorry about that, folks. Didn't mean to get so angry there. Then we go to a multi-man match. This is going to be kind of the multi-man tag match before we get into a lot of the singles matches in day 2. And just because I list these matches off this way doesn't mean that you can't mix it up and stuff like that. But these are the matches I'm coming up with. And then maybe I'll leave it up to you guys on how you guys would book this show, and leave in the comments how you would do it. Yeah, it would be a lot to type out, or you could hit me up on Twitter and DM me and stuff like that. But anyway, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate versus Zack Sabre Jr. and Finlay. Odd move. A Suzuki-gun member and a non-Suzuki-gun member. But there'd be ways to do it. Because Finlay, David Finlay, of course, Fit Finlay's son, would have a bit of history with some of these guys, since his dad influenced a whole lot of them. And they would actually face off also with Sandy, EY, and Alexander Wolf, and Sabre Jr. would tap out Alexander Wolf, who's the lesser of the guys. Couldn't really be hurt by a loss, but would have a good showing. Everybody would get a great showing here. One member of each team would start out and be like a 3-way, and then, a couple people would tag out and you get this, and you'd have a way to rotate people in and out. And be a fun little match, and a way to get people on the card, and a way to also have a good three-team tag match. Great stuff. And Sabre Jr. tapping out Wolf would be great. And Sabre Jr. I don't know could attack Finlay afterwards, and you could have that feud go into a New Japan show later. And then you go to another multi-tag match. Goldust and the Fashion Police versus Taka Michinoku, Taichi, and Iizuka. And Goldust and the Fashion Police would get the win here, because Iizuka would just get pinned at some point. And it'd be a way to get Goldust on the Raw. Now, I know that Goldust did pretty much retire, but if you wanted to get him out for one more damn show, this would be a way, and it'd be a good comedy match. I don't necessarily like comedy in a lot of my wrestling. Sometimes it works. But then you go with, that kind of stuff happening. And you have Goldust and the Fashion Police get the win. And then you go with another big tag match. And it would be Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, but in their Steen and Generico gimmicks. Versus El Desperado and Kanemaru, versus The Bar, versus Roppongi 3K, versus New Day. And that's a lot of people in there. Now, yes, it's 2 Japan teams and one more WWE team, so it's 3 against 2. But since it's a big elimination match, you eventually get to where Roppongi 3K get the victory another Japanese team gets the win. And that's the way you go with it. You do that kind of stuff, and you maybe make it to where, okay, that kind of stuff happens. And where in the world else would you go with it? I mean, why not? And a bonus match that you could throw in at some point. Elias versus Rocky Romero, who's, the pseudo manager of Roppongi 3K. Elias is, say, doing a performance and that kind of stuff, and Rocky Romero jumps in because Rocky Romero raps Roppongi 3K's theme. And then Elias beats Rocky Romero within like 5 minutes. Rocky gets in some moves and stuff like that, gets a big dive over the top, and does some great things. But then Elias eventually hits the drift away, and you do that kind of stuff. So yeah, and Rude would be in the Battle Royal, because sorry, I can't find really a place for Rude. No, Rude versus Okada is not a match I would book. Sorry, I know they have flashy entrances, but that's about where the similarities end, and nothing against Rude. But Elias versus Rocky Romero would be nice. Nice little bonus match and that kind of stuff. So it would actually end up being 25 matches. But then you could end night 1. Put those matches in any order that you want. And it'd be a fun way to close the show. Oh, tune in to night 2 and see what happens. And night 2 begins with Daniel Bryan and Kushida. Daniel Bryan and Kushida. Have I got your attention yet? That would be a great match. Kushida would end up getting the victory. Yes, Daniel Bryan would lose. But it'd be such a great match it wouldn't matter. Kushida is a great talent. And that's nothing against Daniel Bryan, but Daniel Bryan could take a loss here, and it would be a dream match that we didn't know we wanted. Maybe they faced off before. I don't know. Daniel Bryan has been in WWE since 2010, so I don't know if they have faced off before. I don't think so. But imagine just how great that match would be. Just imagine. Just imagine how great that would be. It'd be a great way to establish both guys as just being some of the best super juniors and this kind of stuff. And Daniel couldn't do a diving headbutt. Can't do a diving headbutt. But he'd be able to do just about every other damn move that he could do. And it would be so great to see. It'd be so great to see that match. And then we have Nakamura versus Juice Robinson. Established, New Japan talent that's in WWE versus a WWE talent that's more established in New Japan. It's not a match I necessarily thought would be a great idea until I thought about it more and I go, wait a second, interesting dynamic. And then Nakamura would lose to Juice Robinson. Yes, Juice Robinson would beat Shinsuke Nakamura. Maybe you don't necessarily believe that, but there's part of the reason why I'm kind of loading it up with some of the Japan guys winning. Because unfortunately, some of the WWE guys will end up winning later, especially if Vince had his way. That would be pretty cool, though, Juice Robinson being Nakamura. Because I think at this point, Juice has eaten enough losses, even though he's gained some momentum, that, yeah, okay, this whole show, if it ever happened, maybe in the end it wouldn't necessarily matter, but Juice beating an established New Japan guy that has gone to Vince's land would do wonders for him. And Nakamura taking that loss wouldn't necessarily be bad because he'd be the heel versus Juice Robinson. He'd try for the ball shot, it would miss and pump friction and 1, 2, 3, and Juice would get the win, and that'd be pretty cool. And then you go with Drew and Dolph, who I'm calling WWE's Killer Elite Squad, versus the actual Killer Elite Squad, Archer and Davey Boy Smith Jr. Drew and Dolph would get the win here. That's nothing against Archer and Davey Boy Smith Jr., though Archer would have to not do the water spit entrance. Unless he just has the water and just spits it as he's going through the entrance way. But not actually spitting on fans because that's disgusting. He's got to fucking stop doing that. I know it's part of his gimmick. I'm not faulting the guy. But Drew and Dolph would get the win here. Sure, they're a makeshift team. But tell me that wouldn't be interesting. Tell me that wouldn't be interesting to see that. Now, yeah, again, are there guys I'm leaving off the card? Sure. Okay. That'll happen. I can't remember every single person on the roster, so yeah, I'm going to forget some stuff. And again, I will, in case I either briefly mentioned it and just glossed over it, or I haven't mentioned it to this point, I'm not having any women on the show because New Japan doesn't have any women that actually wrestle. Brandy gets involved a little bit here and there. Miho doesn't. Miho's beautiful. And a couple of the others don't, that they have on there. I will do a WWE women's roster versus the world's roster on a separate show at some point, because I think that would be a great way to showcase the women. And Veda Scott will make an appearance on there because Veda Scott deserves better than she's gotten. And I hope that maybe somehow WWE can bring her in and let her cut promos like only she can. Seriously, Veda Scott is great. Just my opinion. I think Veda Scott's great. But Drew and Dolph would win. It would be, like I said, WWE's Killer Elite Squad. And then we go to Braun and Rusev Day, which would be an odd team, versus Tomohiro Ishii, Chucky T, and Yano. It'd be Chucky T and Yano would play like the comedy and that kind of stuff and everything to Rusev Day. Even though Rusev's a really good badass, he can do comedy pretty well, and so can Aiden. Braun and Ishii just having that face-off would be really cool, because I don't care if Ishii's shorter than Braun. He's still a freaking monster and insane, and it would be great. Braun and Rusev Day would get the win. Yano would try for the low blow, and Aiden English, it wouldn't work. And Braun would, get the victory with the running power slam and this kind of stuff. Maybe he could pick up Ishii and Yano, but probably pick up Yano and pin Yano, which would be nice. That'd be pretty cool. That'd be a good way to do it. And then we go to a match that would make a lot of fangirls and fanboys' heads explode. Naito versus Andrade Cien Almas. Yes, they have history together. Look it up. I'm not going to go into it right here, but Tranquilo versus Tranquilo. And I would personally have Naito win. I'm not saying Almas doesn't deserve the victory, but this could be a 20 to 25 minute classic, and these two could go all out doing the whole posing, this kind of stuff, and hitting some great moves. Naito would get the victory. Almas would not look weak in defeat at all. Zelina would be a non-factor there. I'm not saying Zelina wouldn't be there with Almas, but she would be a non-factor. I mean, I don't know who you bring out to that. Maybe you have Candice run out there and chase Zelina if you're doing this so recently. So she does that kind of stuff. And no, you would not have... you would have Gargano in a different match. But you would have Naito beat Almas. Like, why not? Why wouldn't you have something like that? And this is one I hadn't necessarily considered, because I considered it a singles match and just left one guy off. But here you go. And Dean would not be on this show, because I had Dean on the show, and I'm like, no. Tanahashi and Jushin Thunder Liger versus Seth Rollins and Johnny Gargano. How's that for a team? One, Liger and Tanahashi are great. Tanahashi's the younger of the guys, but Liger can still go in the ring. Rollins and Tanahashi would be a great singles match on his own. Liger and Gargano, since Liger no doubt influenced Gargano, as he influenced many lightweight wrestlers. I mean, I don't know for certain. I don't know all about Johnny Gargano's influences, but my God, that would be such a tremendous match. You could have Dean make an appearance even in Dean run in. If you wanted to throw another guy in there, you can maybe have it be a 6-man tag. Tanahashi and Liger versus Seth Rollins and Johnny Gargano would be absolute money. And this next one is an interesting 3-way. Ricochet, who has worked in New Japan before, worked on the Indies, and is now in WWE, versus Kota Ibushi, who worked in Japan, worked in WWE very briefly in the Cruiserweight Classic and a couple other appearances. So Ricochet versus Ibushi versus Tommaso Ciampa. Tell me that isn't something interesting. That would be a great match, because then you don't know where to go. And by the way, Seth and Gargano would be Tanahashi and Liger. Liger could take the pin. I love Liger, but he doesn't necessarily need to be getting victories over way, way younger guys like this. I mean, the young lions I get. But Ricochet and Ibushi versus Ciampa. Ricochet versus Ibushi versus Ciampa. Ibushi gets the win by pinning Ricochet after Gargano runs out and attacks Ciampa. Because Ciampa would attack Gargano after the match and stuff like that. You know, after their tag match and that kind of stuff. So you would interweave these storylines and keep the stuff going. And then Ciampa would be taken out of the match, and then, like I said, Ibushi would pin Ricochet. And then you go with the real big guns on the third night. So that's the way you end night 2. And yes, it's a bit messy, and I'm kind of making some of this stuff up on the fly, honestly. A lot of this stuff I have written down. A couple things I just literally came up with. So I got enough time, so I'm just going to do this whole thing. So I thank you guys for watching this show up to this point. So you have Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali versus Hiromu Takahashi and Bushi. Yeah, I shut up and take my money. All these great junior heavyweights, lightweight wrestlers, able to go out there and have a 15-minute classic and great tag team wrestling. And yeah, okay, there wouldn't be as many lightweight wrestlers, like Gulak would be probably in the Battle Royal and that kind of stuff. Gallagher, Kendrick. You could have Hideo Itami make an appearance and that kind of stuff in the Battle Royal. But honest to God, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he really would matter that much anymore. They pretty much ruined him, and injuries have pretty much ruined any momentum he had. But anyway, going back to the Cedric and Ali versus Hiromu and Bushi would be just tremendous. It would be a tremendous match. And Cedric and Ali would get the victory. Yeah, Hiromu and Bushi maybe should go over here, but you just had a New Japan guy win. So kind of even it out and stuff like that. And then another 6-man tag. Because Bobby Fish would still be injured. So it'd be the Undisputed Era consisting of Adam Cole, B-Blade, Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong versus Sonata and Evil and Will Ospreay. That's some good stuff right there. One, it protects Ospreay because, I mean, you could have had Ospreay and Cole if you want to have champion. But this way it would turn into just a whole big 6-man tag and would be just a great war. And Bobby Fish would not be in a factor in the ring because he's still injured, unfortunately. He still makes his appearances, but he wouldn't be at ringside. And it would be a great way to just have, everybody get this whole big thing. And then Kyle O'Reilly would take the pin. Because Evil, everything is evil. Sonata would hit the Great Moonsault. And Ospreay would hit the Stormbreaker, 1, 2, 3, and there you go. Yeah, spam finisher city, bitch, but New Japan talents would get the victory here. So you kind of trading it back 1-1 and stuff like that. WWE would probably end up ultimately winning this if you had 25 matches, since I made up the whole Elias, Rocky Romero thing in a quick match. If you count that, it would probably end up being like 13-12 in WWE's favor, but New Japan wouldn't look weak at all. But that 6-man would be really fun. And then the Bludgeon Brothers versus Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. Just too big, just big guys versus bigger guys. And it would be some great tag team wrestling. Bludgeon Brothers would be monsters. Tama Tonga is a pretty big monster. Tonga Loa would end up taking the pin. Tonga Loa would end up taking the pin, not Tama Tonga. Bludgeon Brothers would get the victory, and that's fine. Because again, you're trading back and forth, 1-1 and stuff like that. But it would be a nice little 10-minute match. You wouldn't want the Bludgeon Brothers to be out there overexposed for too long because they're not a long match crew. And then match number 5, and this is the match where it actually could probably main event even night 2 if you wanted to go with it, if you want to mix this card around. And tell me this wouldn't be interesting. Samoa Joe versus Minoru Suzuki in a submission match. Oh, Christ. And no time limits either. No goddamn time limits. This could be a 25, 30-minute classic. Joe could work on submissions, coquina clutch, all that kind of stuff. Minoru just being this massive, just heel, attacking the knee and this kind of stuff. But Joe being able to show even more of his offense, maybe even possibly pull out a muscle buster on the near 50-year-old Suzuki. And do all these things. Would that not be one of the matches of the show? Potentially the match of the entire 3-day weekend? I think so. A 30-minute match. Suzuki wins. Suzuki wins after Joe passes out. Which protects both. Suzuki gets the victory. Samoa Joe passes out from the pain. And you get blood in this. Both guys bleed. And that's how you get in that whole knee bar, that knee crank that Suzuki does. And Joe eventually passes out from the pain. Neither guy looks weak. And it's a great way to do it. And Suzuki, the murder grandpa, deserves that victory. And then we go to a match that I think everybody wants to see, or at least a lot of fantasy, booking people want to see. The Usos versus the Young Bucks, because we need super kicks. Super kick, super kick, super kick, super kick, super kick, super kick, super kick. Oh, what? Super kick. More bang for your buck and the Bucks win. And I hate saying that. I hate saying that. In fact, by my count, I actually think that I have New Japan winning this stuff. I mean, because I've actually lost tally of like what I've had. So please make a tally, either on a piece of paper or something like that. If I've had New Japan talents win more than WWE, but the Bucks win. The Bucks would win. I'm not even a fan of the Young Bucks, but they would win. And nothing against the Usos, but it'd be a way to finally have these two teams clash, and the Bucks would win, and maybe they have a show of respect at the end, which would be nice. It'd be nice because it wouldn't be like a dirty way to win. It would be like, who's the better team? And the Bucks would just eke out the win. And then we have Cody, Marty Scurll, Hangman Page, and Chase Owens. Bullet Club. Versus Balor, Styles, Gallows, and Anderson. Bullet Club. OG Bullet Club, so to speak. Even though Balor, Gallows, and Anderson were pretty much that. And Styles came along a little bit later. Tell me that wouldn't be just a fun 8-man war where you just have everybody just scatter out in the arena or around the ringside area. It'd be ridiculous they were fighting up in the stands because it'd take them 5 years to get back to the ring. Everybody beats up, and this kind of stuff. And eventually, Cody pins Balor. Cody pins Balor. Or, coincidentally, you could have Styles pin. You could have Styles pin like Hangman Page and stuff like that. Or Chase Owens. This one could go either way. I would actually have Japan win here. But honestly, maybe WWE winning wouldn't be necessarily a bad thing, because one of the lesser guys could get the victory. One of the lesser guys could take the loss. Like it could be Styles pinning Page or Owens, and it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. But you could have all these face-offs with all these great talents, and it would be such a great thing. And you could have, say, everybody in the beginning do their too sweet pose and this kind of stuff with their respective teammates. And then the two big matches. And this match doesn't close the show. John Cena versus Okada. Cena says he's the best. Face Okada. Okada wins. In what would be considered a great match. An absolutely 100% great match. Because Okada, young enough, would be able to help Cena. And disguise the fact that Cena can't really wrestle a long match anymore. I mean, he wrestled that match against Styles at Royal Rumble 2017. That's the last long match he's been able to wrestle that was any good. But Okada would win. Now that I think about it, I think I've got Japan pretty much just destroying everybody here. So let's just go back to the whole Bullet Club, New Japan Bullet Club and WWE's version of the Bullet Club. Let's have WWE's version of the Bullet Club win. Then you have Okada win. So now it comes to the main event. And I loathe putting this guy in the main event, but for the clash that it would be, you'd have to put it there. Roman Reigns, the big dog, versus the best bout machine, the Terminator himself, Kenny Omega. And this would have to be an all-out war. Blood, big moves, let Reigns expand his moveset. Omega would be able to hit the V trigger. Reigns could hit a different version of the Superman punch. Hit a Superman uppercut. That kind of stuff where Omega just launches himself. Like, he catches him out of a V trigger and hits him with an uppercut, and Omega just oversells it and stuff like that. It would have some comedy stuff. But with two guys that do such overselling of their moves, it's a match that would have to close the whole thing. It's a match that would have to close the whole thing. And who would win? The fans would win. I would have Omega win. Ultimately, I would have New Japan talents win the last two. Now, the likelihood is they would have Cena beat Okada, which would be stupid. Or Okada would beat Cena, and Reigns would beat Omega. I would have Omega beat Reigns. And in that way, maybe it hooks, having Kenny Omega come to WWE. Now, I did do a show about 10 talents who don't need to be in WWE to succeed. And Omega was on that list. But Omega wins. Hits the one-wing angel. Through a table, something like that. 1, 2, 3. And it closes the show with New Japan standing tall, but WWE not looking weak. Now, yeah, okay, maybe that's just me speaking from my, crazy perspective. It would probably end up being, like I said, if Vince had any hand in the booking the stuff, it'd probably be like 15-9, WWE would be on top, or 15-10 if we want to do 25 matches. That's how I would book it. So I want to know, guys, in the comments, guys and girls, what would you have me do? Or not what would you have me do? What would you do if you did a fantasy booking for New Japan, WWE? Yeah, I know some of these guys are in Ring of Honor also. But the whole point is, New Japan, WWE. The show wouldn't happen, but if it did, how would you book it? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe also. It's been Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin, and I will see you soon.